Okay, if my panelists would like to come up and join me, I think now would be a good time. So we are here to have a casual conversation about future state, never waiting to check in, frictionless technologies, look at other industries, best practices, and what maybe we can learn from them and implement across our own industry in the hospitality space. So I'm Lisa Murphy. I work with Illusions Online, longtime head member, second-time panel leader. And I'm joined by my esteemed industry colleagues here, and maybe I'll let you guys introduce yourselves and share a little bit about your background and what maybe you have learned from some of your own experience that lends itself to this topic. Pablo, can we start with you?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Pablo Delgado. I work for a company called Mirai, and we've been in the hotel industry for 25 years already. And I'm an engineer myself. I've never worked in a hotel, ever. So I'm very critic of many of the inertia and stupid procedures at the hotel level. And today my idea is to share what, as a technology provider for hotels, what we typically try to do to ease the process of the check-in or any other procedure at the hotel level.
Okay, that's great. Thanks, Pablo. James?
Hey, everyone. James Lemon. So I'm the global lead for travel and leisure at Stripe. I've been at Stripe for about a year. Before that, hotels, travel has been my deep experience. I had 5 years at IHG, helping run strategy teams. I had 4 years at Travelport, looking at, obviously, the distribution space in hotels, cars, and air. And then about 5 years in startup land. So I was working in a short-term rental business for a year, and then had my own kind of advisory practice as well. At Stripe, really interesting business. We've about 20,000 customers in travel, everything from startups to hotel chains and the platforms behind the scenes, but just don't always tell that story. So I'm just making sure I'm on the road, sharing a bit about what we're doing to create fictionless guest experience, what we can learn from other industries that we've done with companies like Uber and Lyft to bring kind of invisible payments to the world of hospitality. So lovely to share some of that with you.
Great, thanks, James. And Mathijs, I think. Oh, okay, we're sharing mics. Oh, okay. We're not sharing mics, just kidding, strike that.
Hello, everybody. My name is Mathijs van Dijk. I work for CitizenM Hotels and been doing revenue and distribution probably all my life now. And I've been doing that for 6 years now for CitizenM Hotels. CitizenM Hotels is about 30 hotels globally. So most of them actually are focused in Europe and US. It's an owner-operator model. So it's is heavy in assets, so not light as you probably would see at the bigger American or French chains nowadays.
Okay, very nice, thank you. So, as I said, we're here to talk about removing one of the maybe more painful experiences, move towards frictionless check-in, check-out. I know CitizenM, you've made some incredible, moves in the space. Maybe we could invite you to talk a little bit about your experience, what you think.
That is okay.
Yeah, would you mind?
So within CitizenM, we've always focused on technology, because technology is for us embedded in the way we actually operate. As a heavy company focused really on the contribution of guest satisfaction, we wanted to make that process as smooth as possible in the guest journey. So having technology embedded in our DNA is really crucial and will always be very crucial. And I think technology is an enabler for the guest experience. It's not a replacement, because there's still always humans working in the hotels, but they're having a different function. So instead of the guests queuing along the line and waiting for them to check in, they can actually approach them and facilitate them what they actually need. They don't need to wait in a queue, because that is not what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to do is experience the city or have a good explanation what they can actually do in the hotel or in the surrounding. So everything is really focused on that guest experience. And we have that enabled by having the kiosks in the hotel. But nowadays, with the pandemic situation, we create a mobile app. So guests can actually check in before, and with a push of the button, they can check out, which just enables guest satisfaction.
Yeah, that's wonderful. It brings to mind an interesting question. Some of the brands I think that we're all familiar with that are currently offering mobile check-in and check-out, it does lend itself, to your point, to the guest satisfaction, ease of being able to enable the technology. Is there a way that we can enable this technology without requiring the guest to download a specific app per brand? Or does it all need to be tied to the loyalty programs? What do you guys think? What have you seen? Any suggestions?
I think a lot of that stuff's a business decision rather than a technology decision, right? I think I've only worked in payments for about a year now, but my sense of it is that payment technology is flexible enough to do whatever you need. Local payment methods, thinking things through. But I think the industry's caught up on everyone wanting to own it themselves. So, hey, OTA booking's bad, direct booking's good. And hey, if we're going to have direct bookings, well, let's just save all the best stuff for our loyalty members. And you also see it in KPIs. People are incentivized to drive app bookings rather than necessarily reduce time at check-in or overall guest satisfaction. So my sense is that the big themes of the industry, like direct booking, better guest experiences, keeping happy owners, all of these things are payment themes. But we expect the bigger the company, the more we're making some pretty strange choices, I think, around, well, actually, we're only going to protect this for people who've downloaded the app or people who have signed up to our loyalty program. My sense is, from looking at other industries, right, you should always be able to have your payment preferences remembered, right? If you've ever been to that website before, if you've ever been seen in the ecosystem before, it's like, this person is sitting on their mobile phone right now, this is their Apple Pay preferences, or their credit card details are saved. We've kind of left it to Apple and Google to run that, rather than say, well, actually, I want to make sure that really feels like a kind of Hilton checkout experience or a Marriott checkout experience. So there's definitely more we could do right at the top of the funnel to make sure everyone converts. But that's not to say there's not really cool stuff you can do in the app as well. And I think that, for me, it probably will be app-led experiences that create the kind of Lyft and Uber-style checkouts that I think we're all really aspiring to, because that way you can tie it to a digital room key, which lives in the app as well. Yeah. I don't know. I love to download apps, so I actually have probably a different perspective from 90% of people. But a few thoughts.
You're going to say?
I think it also needs to add value, because people would just don't download an app if it doesn't add any value for you. You wouldn't do it yourself either, right? So it's not only the check-in process, but there's actually the in-house experience. So when you come into the room with the app, you can do everything with the app. So control the TV, do the lighting, air conditioning, so the blinds. So that's all part of the app experience. Of course, there's also an iPad available for people that doesn't want to use their own telephone, of course, but it's quite easy. And actually, if you want to order something, food, drinks, you do it via the app easily. It goes just in your funnel, and you will check out later, and everything is being paid automatically.
Yeah. Go on, jump in, Pablo. I was going to ask you to rebut some of this, maybe.
No, I think they're right, but I think a certain point is that the industry is not all hotels are alike. There are four big worlds. There are the independent hotels and the big chains. And then you have the leisure hotels and the corporate hotels. So I think these four types are completely different. If you're a big group, it's so easy to have an app because you have 9,000 properties across the globe, right? If you're a frequent traveler, it's so easy to have the app. But if you're going to an independent hotel in any place in Cancun or in Boston, I'm not an app person. So even if the value proposition is high, I will not download the app. So I think it's not easy for independent hotels, especially if the repeat guests are not that high, right? So I think we need to understand this, because if we are going in a direction where our customers don't follow, we'll get frustration. But for those hotels that can ease the check-in process or check-out process with any technology, and their customers are willing to accept that, I think the problem is that the hotels are not pushing in that direction, because the technology is there and their customers are ready. But I see a lot of hotels that haven't understood that yet, because of they keep operating the hotel the same way of 20 years ago.
Yeah,
Right.
some of the same mindset.
I think the stopper are there. It's not that the customer technology is not there. It's that they don't want to change. They come here, they read stuff, but they don't do anything.
Yeah.
This is, to me, I go to many hotels that they could automate a lot of things. They simply don't do it. They always have an excuse not to do it.
Well, that's interesting. So, maybe best practice or words of advice to a hotel that's hesitant or not willing to change their ways. As a consultant, what would you say to them?
Well, the way we approach every improvement we do in our technology is to make the life of our clients easier. Easier that they need not to do anything. So it's just like a plug and play. Unfortunately, it's not that easy. Many times we need their cooperation. But if everything works just like with the bottom and they don't need to do anything, that's usually easier. But if they need to get in and configure and operate or run, that's where problems start. So my piece of advice is start with a quick win and show the owner, I'm especially talking about independent, that a lot of things can be done, right? Something that you can do and you have the benefit, immediate benefit, right? And then they will get used to it. Oh, what's next, right? But if you start with something complicated, you will get frustration, and then we get the stopper, right? So it's changing people, the challenge. That's my impression.
Are there any case studies? Can we tie numbers to this actionable data? I think money talks, numbers talk, right? Is there, maybe we need to try and tie this to some figures.
Yeah, I think I love the point you're making. I think that in the hospitality industry, I think we often get a bit of a bad rap for mindsets or lack of innovation. Actually, I think it's more complicated than that, right? We are a really streamlined, lean industry when it comes to hotel level staffing. And when it comes to HQ roles, I think we are quite sensitive to, maybe we've made mistakes with owners before, or it's just a lot of priorities. I do think that areas like this, you're not going to innovate by accident. So you have to carve out that time during the planning process to say, we really do want to get better at these couple of things. And I think you can quite easily pick tangible things that have a value, right? You just say, right, we want to get direct bookings up by 5 percentage points this year. And someone in your marketing team, for example, should know your marketing funnel, right? How many people hit your web page each year to actually how many people check out? And I guarantee you'll be losing the vast chunk of those at the kind of room selection and payment page, because we just know that is a nightmare in hotels. And the OTAs have had 20 years of being e-commerce experts, so they're just better. So yeah, you can absolutely put business cases on it. And then you can start to fiddle around. Well, is that about Google Pay or Apple Pay, or is that about inbound markets and local payment methods, or whatever it may be? But for me, I think the idea of having a small project and just saying, right, we're going to have a new mobile web page with, alternative payment methods, or, a chance for people to verify their ID and upload their payment methods so they don't have to do that at the front desk. I think innovations like this are really smart. And don't overthink it. Don't get on the app roadmap for 2025. Actually be like, right, you know what? We're just going to send that out via a WhatsApp link, or we're going to send that in a pre-stay email 48 hours before. Try it 100 times, try it 1,000 times, and see what works.
There's a way to get it off the ground quickly.
Yeah, but I think these things require a little bit of resource, and I think we need to be honest that we do need to think about this industry as more of a tech industry sometimes, and that means that you have to have a small group of people focused on it who have permission to kind of break the rules a little bit until it's done. And I think we really struggle with that. We're quite a conservative industry because there's just so many stakeholders and there's just so many thousands of people coming through our hotels every night. And we don't
And
want to...
particularly when it's cross-departmental and you have to involve, not just sales, but front desk and operations. And I mean, Pablo, I think you were touching on that in our pre-call. And Mathijs, I don't know if you might have some examples or recommendations of challenges that you hit at CitizenM and how to overcome those. Anything that comes to mind?
I think there is always challenges. It's just the way how you deal with those challenges. I think what we did is we created product service teams, so highly focused teams, and they're not dealing with any operational stuff. So just focusing on how can we make the guest experience even better than it already is. I think that it's so important for a company to have a really focused product service teams that work in an agile way. So what we do is an iterative way. So every time we analyze, for instance, the component of the online check-in, and we see, okay, how much friction did actually happen during the online check-in process? Because friction happens, right? So it's not new. But the way to deal with it is just to analyze where the friction hits, on an iterative approach, and then change it, and then test it again with a group of audience that we call our champions, and see how it actually improved their experience. Yeah. Because our champions are the ones, actually, we can see that in our data, of course, who stay longer, who make more money for us, in essence, because the guest satisfaction is higher, and they often come back. So we test a lot of things on them, and we are fantastic, so happy with their feedback, because that enables us to make our product better.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Good for you. Well, and I think we talked about, too, the opportunity to tie in upselling and ancillary revenue ads. And Pablo, maybe you can talk a little bit more about some of the specific room number selection experience that you've had.
Yeah, we added the capability in our booking engine to do two things that, from a hotel perspective, it might be incremental revenue. One was the option to upsell a few days before the check-in, and in a plug-and-play way. So hotels don't need to do anything. Everything is done. The client just needs to accept the incremental price. You get that price, that revenue goes directly to the bottom line. And there's a modification, goes through the channel manager down to the PMS. Everything runs smoothly. Hotels don't need to do anything. Actually, we got a lot of data, and that data helped us sell this feature because they understood, okay, I can get this money. Having data is always helpful because hotels make easier decisions or more confident decisions. And the other one is allowing clients to select the room, the exact room at the time of the booking. So not only 3 days for check-in, this is especially useful for resorts in the Caribbean where you have different buildings, we're close to the beach or further closer to the pool, in the family area, in the only adults area. In the urban hotels, I don't think it's that useful, but from a leisure perspective, if you can get more revenue by letting the customer select, it's like an upselling within the same room type. I'm not getting the junior suite, I'm getting the junior suite in the 3rd floor, and I'm willing to pay $100 more because I can see the beach, right? So it's like another way of getting incremental revenue through technology, and you skip a process at the reception because the room has been assigned already. So that facilitates the check-in process probably. There's still a lot of challenge from an operational perspective because salespeople love this idea, but operational people hate this idea, right? So there is a gap that we need to fill, but it will take time. The airline industry already did this, so we just need few more years.
Okay, great. Well, thank you. I don't know how much time we have. There's no countdown here. So, Mike, can I give a 5-minute warning? Okay. If I were questions, would I be in the app? Okay. I wanted to give the audience an opportunity to weigh in here or jump up and pass a mic around. Are there any questions from the audience?
Any questions?
Questions, comments, short speeches?
April?
No pressure.
Oh, you can be the first.
Oh my gosh, do I need to be the first?
Yes, you do.
So Hi, everyone. I think I love this. I love the conversation, and I actually love Pablo's candor and how he answers all the questions. He's my favorite. What I'm really looking at is this check-in experience, because I'm a hotelier, and so we are soft-touch people. We want to say hi to the guest. We want to welcome them into the experience of the hotel. So how do we balance that? How do you balance wanting to see the guest, acknowledge the guest, interact with the guest, but also give them the technology in the instances where they need to? So how do you find that balance, I guess, is the good question.
Great question.
I'm happy to
James?
take. I'm happy to take that. I think let's not kid ourselves that the registration process we do every night around the world is welcoming guests, right? I think it's frustrating guests. If you think about an Uber driver, the experience they provide is completely separate to the payment and the kind of transaction. If that Uber driver chooses to offer a really welcoming, hospitable experience around, why you're in Seattle and what you need to do here, that's completely different to fiddling around for, your ID or your credit card number. I think we're going to end up in a world of options. There will always be people who are low tech and they just want to make sure everything's tick and tied at the front desk with all the paperwork. And there'll be people who are in that hotel every week and they just want to be left alone after a long flight. So for me, removing all of the really admin stuff like online identity verification, kind of payment preferences and storing that, maybe room key, but I think that's kind of up for debate. Some people just quite like that kind of moment of interaction. I think that's all completely doable. And my sense is, why do we even need a front desk experience to do that? Why can't we be greeting people, in the bar or as they get out of the car? And you can now kind of tap to pay on mobile devices, right? So you don't need these kind of fixed units anymore with big screens between you and the guest. You can create much more personal experiences, I think, through kind of eliminating queues and check-ins. So I think let's not kid ourselves that we're offering hospitality experiences by forcing people to hand over their ID and credit cards at the front desk, because every other industry shows that's not the case. But you can still create magic moments of guest experience, because you're still curating that visit to the hotel and you're still curating that visit to the city or destination. You just remove the stuff that's not that can be done online.
Yeah, good. Mathijs, you want to weigh in?
Yeah, I can weigh in on this one. I think actually, if I talk to the people in the hotel, they say we have more time actually to spend with the guests, to talk to the guests truly, where they are here, or how we can better assist them in their stay, instead of a tedious, long 10 minutes chat regarding their numbers, phone, address, details. You have all that data already in the booking. So why would you bother actually people with getting that? Because it's in your data. So focus please on the guest journey and the guest experience, because in the end of the day, they will be happier. Yesterday I had a long flight of 11 hours from Amsterdam. And the last thing what I want to do is a small chat. No, I just want to check in and go up to my room, have a sleep for an hour, like a power nap, and then get a beer. That is the thing what I want to do.
Wonderful.
Well,
Okay, well, I think...
We have time for one more question.
Okay. Is there
Anyone?
a question from the audience?
I guess I'll ask one then.
Please do.
What will I still be alive when the last front desk check-in goes away?
I don't know, Mike.
It's a
How
trick
long
question.
you planning to be around?
Thank you very much, Lisa, and to your panel.
Yes, thank you guys very much. Anybody have last closing thoughts? I mean, it's not really seem like it's a question of if we should do this, but how do we get there? Technology can support it. So,
yeah, I think I'll just say one last thing. I think Mike makes a joke, and we mentioned it in a planning call. It's like, wait a minute, why are we still talking about this in 2023? I think a couple of things come to mind. Is don't wait for integrations, right? I think if you learn anything from kind of the technology community, it's that you can just start to kind of hack your way through, get things working in a couple of hotels. If I think about the way where restaurants are at or taxi drivers are at in kind of APAC, they're running 3 or 4 devices, they're getting bookings from all kinds of places, they manage 10 different payment methods. Restaurants are the same now, right? You got your point of sale, but they've got, again, orders coming in from everywhere in the kitchen. Like, I know it feels like operational overhead, but it's not operationally simple right now. So if you've got a really cool startup that offer, a really innovative way to check in guests or receive bookings a different way, let some of your hotels give it a go. That's where the energy of the industry comes from, and continue to push your big technology partners harder, because they should also be open, right? They should be thinking about these kind of innovations and not a kind of a closed loop. So I think that's a big thing. Across all your hotel chains, you have dozens of hotels working with hundreds of really interesting startups, but you're missing out a chance to look at that data, to interrogate it, and there's all these really innovative moments being created, but we're trying to do everything at scale, and it's okay to start small, I think, just a few guests at a time, a few moments at a time, and that's innovation does start small, I think.
Really good. Matthias?
I would just say embrace technology because it will uplift your guest experience, and in the end of the day, it would lead to higher revenues because happy guests return, and we see that in our data. So we measure everything. We see also the app contribution. We see also the uptake that the app performance actually are driving towards our bottom line. So I would say just embrace it.
Okay, Pablo?
Well, I think that the automation is unstoppable. I mean, everything is going to be automatic. But if hotels see this automation as a cost-saving tool only, I think it's not going to work. It has to be something for the consumer. It can be a reduced price, or that his or she's going to get a better service elsewhere. But if many hotels approach, okay, I'm going to replace people with machines, and I'm going to get the savings, I don't think it's the correct approach. And in my view, many hotels are approaching this way.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate your time and your input. So it's been a pleasure. Thank you. Thank you.